Before dawn, the corridors of power vibrated like tuning forks struck by unseen hands. A rumor moved faster than light. A new line had appeared in the national budget. Civil servants arrived early, scrolling through databases until they found it. Allocation 001, Divine Operations. No minister claimed it, yet the funds flowed as if an invisible treasury had issued the order. Accountants stared at numbers glowing gold instead of green. Every debit balanced itself. Every deficit sang. Somewhere between finance and faith, the ledger had become alive. What once financed fear now funded healing. Projects once designed for control now built sanctuaries. The wealth of the wicked is laid up for the just. Proverbs 13, verse 22. The president entered, pen trembling. He didn't understand the figures, but destiny guided his signature. Each stroke of ink shimmered, converting bureaucracy into blessing. Lobbyists lost reception on their phones. Banks reported unauthorized grace. Across continents, dormant accounts awakened. Orphans fed, artists funded, prisoners freed. It wasn't charity, it was correction. Systems that had taxed compassion now tied to it. Economists tried to chart the phenomenon and failed. The graphs bent into halos. Analysts whispered, "Who's paying for this?" The answer arrived in silence. Heaven is... And in that silence, balance sheets bowed. Every currency felt small beside the new exchange rate called purpose. If resources had begun finding you instead of fleeing you, type 888. Heaven's treasury just matched your mission budget. Supply now recognizes assignment, and you've been added to the payroll of Providence. In vaults unseen by satellites, the budget of heaven unfolded. No currency jingled there. Only intention carried weight. Invisible accountants, angels fluent in arithmetic and awe, recorded kindness as capital and mercy as interest compounded daily. What earthly economists called loss, heaven listed as seed. Every tear shed in faith appeared as credit. Every act of forgiveness doubled in value the moment it was given freely. The numbers pulse like heartbeats, glowing on ledgers made of light. Do not store up treasures on earth, but in heaven. Matthew 6, verses 19 to 20. Transactions of compassion cross borders without tariffs. The budget was balanced not by austerity, but by abundance. Inflation was impossible. Truth never devalues. In this economy, gratitude generated its own supply chain. Below the celestial columns, a single headline blazed across the sky. The divine economy is open. The same angels who once guarded Eden now guarded generosity. They whispered to dreamers, inventors, artists, "Create. Funding has been approved." Meanwhile on earth, quiet miracles mirrored the balance sheet. Forgotten debts were forgiven. Water pipelines reached deserts that no grant ever funded. Philanthropy spiked with no campaigns attached. Something higher had adjusted the flow. Each time a heart decided to give, a sound, soft as a chime, rippled through dimensions, and somewhere in heaven's treasury, another line item was reconciled in gold light. Love rendered in full. At exactly 11:11 Universal Time, movement began. It didn't look like a transaction. It felt like wind changing direction. Invisible channels opened between hearts, and the flow of provision no longer followed contracts, but calling. Bankers checked their dashboards. Wires sent themselves. Accounts credited unknown recipients whose only qualification was purpose. An inventor in Kenya woke to find a dormant patent funded. A farmer in Brazil discovered new rainfall irrigation under a sky he hadn't prayed to, but that had heard him anyway. Everywhere, the chosen felt the same pulse. Activation. Give, and it will be given to you. A good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over. Luke 6, verse 38. In heaven's ledgers, arrows of gold light connected people like constellations. Each connection a transfer of trust. The chosen became a hub through which abundance rerouted itself. He didn't chase prosperity. Prosperity recognized his signature from before time began. The systems that once hoarded began to hemorrhage generosity. Wealth bore with vanity, switch employers. Corporations found themselves sponsoring miracles. Warehouses releasing food they didn't remember storing. Networks streaming hope instead of fear. It wasn't chaos, it was choreography. Destiny had turned logistics into liturgy. Every shift in market value became a psalm about balance. Power no longer trickled down. It rose up like morning light through glass floors. The blessing of the Lord makes rich, and he adds no sorrow with it. Proverbs 10, verse 22. Some call it a coincidence. Prophets call it a transfer season. Where greed once built walls, grace now built bridges. Each gift given multiplied without receipt, yet every giver felt lighter, as if generosity itself had become a new form of gravity. And at the center of the global current stood the chosen, not collecting, but conducting. Hands open, eyes calm, he whispered. Let the flow continue until every lack is language no one remembers. The wind obeyed. Currencies obeyed. Even time, the oldest debtor, began to pay back what it owed. Heaven's treasury was never silent. It breathed. Every act of love echoed as a number too luminous for calculators. When mercy was given, light rippled through eternity like coin dropped into water. Miracles became measurable, not by worth, but by wonder. A just balance belongs to the Lord. All the weights of the bag are his. Proverbs 16, verse 11. In the vault of stars, the divine accountants took their seats. Their ledgers were galaxies. Their ink was grace. They did not count mistakes. They reconciled them. What the world called debt, heaven renamed lesson. Every lost opportunity was audited and returned as wisdom with interest. The numbers danced. Equations rearranged to include invisible variables. Compassion, humility, obedience. Balance sheets balanced themselves because justice had re-entered the system. Economists of the spirit called it the Great Recalibration. Below on earth, unexpected reports emerged. Corporate scandals collapsing under sudden confessions. Hidden accounts emptied into relief funds. Anonymous donors appearing on every ledger as the redeemed. Auditors wrote frantic notes. Profits rising where there was no production. Losses vanishing after prayer. A government investigation concluded. Unexplainable surplus of good. For with the measure you use, it will be measured back to you. Luke 6, verse 38. Then came the final audit. Across creation, all figures aligned under one heading. Grace outstanding. No deficits remained. No theft unhealed. The cosmic calculator clicked once, displaying zero in golden flame. Not emptiness, but equilibrium. Heaven signed the page with a sigh of light. A voice, soft as the sunrise, declared, "Account settled. Proceed to celebration." And as that decree passed through the fabric of time, people everywhere felt their shoulders lighten. It wasn't financial relief. It was forgiveness wearing the scent of fresh rain. The book of life had just closed another quarter, and this one ended in eternal profit. At 2:22 a.m., when the nation's servers entered maintenance mode, a file appeared where no one was logged in. Its title glowed softly. Internal memo, heaven/operations. No sender, no timestamp, no encryption key. Yet every firewall recognized its authority and opened in silence. The memo began to write itself, one golden word at a time. Subject 001, compensation approved. Payment type purpose. Lights in the finance ministry flickered as unseen energy moved through fiber optics. Across continents, similar notifications bloomed on dormant screens. The same message repeating in every language known and forgotten. Printers came alive without command. Each page bore a single paragraph that read more like scripture than policy. Joy is the new currency. Gratitude is the exchange rate. Serve willingly, and the treasury of heaven will remain open. Employees who witnessed it later said they felt warmth on their faces, like standing too close to sunlight that knew their name. Some cried. Some fell to their knees between cubicles. Others simply stared, unable to look away from the screen that called them seen. My God will supply all your needs according to his riches and glory. Philippians 4, verse 19. The memo auto-signed itself, authorized by the Word. Then it vanished, leaving behind no digital trace, only fragrance. The room smelled faintly of myrrh, ozone, and clean paper. In the morning, executives opened their emails to find an unreadable attachment, a blank document that, when printed, revealed embossed text visible only in sunlight. Joy dispersed. By noon, productivity soared, but anxiety dropped to zero. Paychecks arrived with the same numbers, yet every recipient reported feeling richer. The press called it mass delusion. The faithful called it peril activation. And far above the noise in the infinite HR office of the divine, the memo's final line was still glowing. All approved. Continue illumination. The headlines broke at sunrise. Unexplainable surplus. Every nation's treasury reported the same phenomenon. Deficits vanished overnight. Debts deleted without signatures. Economists flooded studios to explain, but their theories dissolved mid-sentence. Numbers behaved like living things, rewriting themselves faster than equations could chase. The stock market didn't crash. It calmed. Graphs flattened into a peace line. Traders stared at monitors showing infinite liquidity. Not in dollars, but in deeds. The silver is mine and the gold is mine, says the Lord Almighty. Haggai 2 verse 8. World banks convene emergency meetings, but every camera caught the same shimmer in the air, a golden haze, as the spreadsheets had started worshiping. Some called it a hack, others a hoax. Prophets smiled and whispered. The transfer cleared. Panelists debated on live TV. How do blessings appear as assets? A voice from the back of the studio, unmixed calm, almost amused, answered, because value is obedience. The room fell silent. Currencies began to stabilize, yet prices refused to rise. Markets lost their greed. Corporations released patents into the public domain. Artists found anonymous benefactors. And hospitals reported anonymous donations labeled grace dividend. Governments were confused. Accountants were terrified. For the first time in recorded history, supply exceeded demand because compassion refused to stop producing. Inflation bowed to intention. Interest rates were replaced with intercession rates. You cannot serve both God and money. Matthew 6 verse 24. Analysts tried to trace the source of these transactions. The trail led nowhere and everywhere at once, a quantum loop of kindness connecting billions of hearts. One journalist wrote, "The invisible hand of the market seems to have found its owner. By week's end, the global economy was unrecognizable. No one could manipulate it because generosity had gone viral. The system designed for scarcity had accidentally downloaded heaven's software, and now it ran on abundance." While economists argued in circles, the chosen walked through the noise as through mist. He didn't speak of miracles. He accounted for them in gratitude. When the reporter shouted, "How does it feel to be the richest man alive?" He smiled, eyes calm as still water, and answered, "I'm not rich. I'm trusted." He didn't open banks. He opened storehouses of peace. He didn't calculate. He multiplied by mercy. Where others saw income, he saw invitation. Every coin placed in his hand felt warm, alive, whispering purpose instead of profit. Freely you have received, freely give. Matthew 10 verse 8. The world sent auditors. Heaven sent witnesses. They found no vaults, no investments, only communities suddenly self-sufficient, fields flourishing, children laughing louder than before. His only spreadsheet was his journal of answered prayers. In the evenings, he would sit beneath city lights and count. Not money, but moments. How many hearts had opened? How many fears had retired? How many strangers had started greeting one another again? He tallied gratitude like interest, watching it compound across generations. When gift arrived, gold, art, estates, he redirected them like rivers, never damming the flow. The donors tried to stay anonymous. He stayed uncredited. The system couldn't track him because he kept giving faster than it could record. It is required that those who have been given a trust must prove faithful. 1 Corinthians 4 verse 2. He spoke softly to those who followed. Do not build towers from what heaven gave to heal. If wealth stops moving, it starts dying. Keep it breathing. Keep it serving. Nations began copying his methods. NGOs called it circular grace. But to him, it was simply obedience. He lived without ledger anxiety because his economy ran on eternity's balance sheet. When asked for a secret, he laughed gently. There is none. I just stopped counting what can't be carried beyond light. When the seventh sunrise arrived, every hidden ledger on earth unlocked. Bank passwords failed, but truth did not. Encrypted files decrypted themselves into light. Every citizen awoke to find a message on their devices, not from banks, but from balance itself. Transparency activated. Nothing hidden that will not be disclosed. Luke 8, verse 17. Screens flooded with numbers turning into stories. Budgets morphed into testimonies. Instead of profit margins, the ledgers now displayed people. Faces of those once forgotten. A widow's rent, a student's scholarship, a hospital's new wing. Each transaction stamped with the same signature. Grace issued. Governments tried to restore privacy firewalls, but the code obeyed a higher encryption, the mathematics of mercy. Where corruption once thrived in darkness, honesty now grew like sunlight through glass floors. Corporations began releasing public statements titled Reparations Complete. Executives confessed embezzlements live on air, not shamed but relieved, as if guilt had been too expensive to maintain. The markets didn't crash, they exhaled. The truth will set you free. John 8, verse 32. Citizens watched real-time donations replace taxes. Communities funded themselves out of conscience. Charity became currency. Influencers lost followers but gained disciples of authenticity. Even the dark web flickered. Its servers reformatted into libraries of forgiveness. Every anonymous account renamed itself Light Bearer. Historians called it the Great Reconciliation. Heaven called it Audit Complete. At night, global monuments projected the same sentence in thousands of tongues. This is a new economy, love in circulation. Children memorized it like a pledge. Elders smiled, recognizing it as the prophecy they had waited for. And in the center of every city square, a new screen appeared, not for advertising, but for thanksgiving. Each donation, each good deed, streamed there live, a luminous waterfall of transparency baptizing the world in trust. The ship began quietly, like a sunrise that forgot to end. Economists noticed first. Profit curves no longer rose in spikes, but flowed in circles. The line between giving and gaining dissolved. Both now meant growth. Compassion had become the new algorithm. Central banks met to discuss the anomaly. Their screens displayed only one phrase, repeating endlessly. Value recalibrated to virtue. Trade routes rerouted themselves, favoring nations that practice fairness. Currency stabilized, not through control, but through conscience. Blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy. Matthew 5, verse 7. The world's wealth map began to glow in patterns of generosity. The richest countries were no longer those with gold, but those with open hands. Factories shifted production toward restoration. Machines building homes instead of weapons, assembling hope instead of hierarchy. Stock indexes started publishing new metrics. Joy average, peace output, hope yield. Investors learned that the only safe asset was integrity. People didn't retire. They reinvested themselves in community. Even time banks opened. Hours exchanged for care. Every handshake recorded as sacred currency. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. Matthew 6, verse 21. In classrooms, children solved new word problems. If one act of kindness multiplies by 10 hearts, how long before the world reaches surplus joy? No one failed that exam. Governments renamed their ministries of finance to departments of stewardship. GDP became GDP, grace distributed proportionally. Journalists reported that anxiety had dropped below measurable levels. Heaven smiled. Earth finally learned to budget by rhythm, not by fear. And at the center of it all, the chosen walked unseen through trading floors and town squares, not to bless the wealthy, but to remind the wise. This is not utopia. It's correction. You have simply remembered how to value what breathes. As twilight folded into gold, the world grew still again. Markets, governments, cities, all paused as if waiting for a benediction. Across continents, voices began to rise, soft, uncoordinated, but in harmony. It was not a protest. It was gratitude becoming public policy. The president stepped to the microphone, but his first words were not addressed to citizens, only upward. Lord of ledgers, let every transaction serve truth. And instantly, the entire planet repeated him, billions whispering the same prayer. The earth is the Lord's and everything in it. Psalm 24, verse 1. In that sacred echo, the chosen lifted his hands, palms open toward the sky. The air thickened with light that hummed like distant choirs balancing accounts. From the depths of vaults and clouds of data, wealth began to shimmer, unanchored from fear. Every coin, every contract, every promise realigned its signature to compassion. Heaven's treasury released one last memo of the age. Convert greed, giving. Wages, worship. Ownership, offering. A storm of fragrance rolled across the globe. Cedar, myrrh, and something unnameable. Corporate towers dimmed their lights in reverence. Children laughed in their sleep. Somewhere, oceans reflected written words made of starlight. It is finished, but never closed. Give us this day our daily bread. Matthew 6, verse 11. The chosen spoke once more, not loudly, but clearly enough for eternity to record. Provision was never payment. It was partnership. You're funded by faith. You're salaried by surrender. Rain began to fall, fine as dust, golden as dawn. Each drop struck the ground and glowed, forming rivers that spelled out the final ledger line. All accounts reconciled in grace. When the light settled, silence returned, but it was a living silence, full of rhythm, the hum of abundance resting in balance. And from that day on, whenever generosity moved, the sound of unseen bells echoed faintly in the air, as if heaven kept applauding every act of giving. If provision has begun to chase you instead of elude you, type 888. Heaven's treasury recognizes your mission. You are no longer seeking supply. You are the supply chain of grace. Steward it wisely. The purpose was never prosperity. It was restoration. Spend light, not fear. Circulate hope. Invest in eternity.